I'm just doing my own pace and like something pops and I collapsed 2 discs. So all that went numb again and all the nerve damage there like compounded on each other and I had to have a cervical neck fusion.
Yeah.
So at that point it was like, all right,
this is not,
man, this nothing I'm doing is working. So I'm going to stop. Like, it was my identity for really as long as I've been, you know, from a young man and up.
Yeah.
I've kept with fitness somehow.
Yeah.
And it was like, what am I going to do, man? I'm not going to go out here and walk.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not walking up hills or doing any of this crap, man. You're like, I'm just going to go fishing. I mean, I grew up as a outdoors kid.
Yeah.
And I was a Eagle Scout. So, you know, my dad, we went camping, we went out of town, we went whitewater rafting, canoeing, fishing. Fishing was a big thing. I fished all my younger years. So I grew up outside. I just never went hunting. So hiking, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, injury, man. So I ate man, I watched everything that went in my body. I mean, paleo or whatever I chose at the time. Keto, I'd cook that way. Man, I mean, and just
super strict. That was one of the first things that I noticed. I was like, man, I don't like, you were like a mad scientist in your nutrition.
Yeah. I mean, I just studied it and I wanted to be good at it.
Yeah.
And I was intense with it and I just enjoyed it. And, you know, I'd never missed really never missed working out and that kind of thing. So it was just all the time. And I wanted to go hard all the time. I mean, I'd go in the gym and I'd want to beat everybody in there.
Yeah.
And if I couldn't beat you, I'd probably talk smack and mess with your head or something just to act like I could beat you. I mean,
there was everybody and then there was you.
So the first thing happened, I was doing ring dips. It was like a running workout with just some ring dips in it, maybe some power cleans that were light. And the ring dip number wasn't a big deal, but I was just trucking along and then I heard it just kind of exploded. My shoulder just went audibly, like everybody around it doing ring dips heard it and stopped.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, and it didn't hurt initially, but you could just hear it. And I was like, man, none of that was good.
That's not what you want.
No, man. And so I kind of, I was still, golly, I think I was like 30. It was when I was like 32. So this might have been a year later, maybe.
Yeah.
And it ended up, it was a torn rotator cuff, full labrum tear, bicep tear, AC joint, like everything up there was torn. The whole thing was just blown up. So I got that repaired.
And this is 33
probably, 33 or 34, I think.
Yeah.
And so, the doctor that repaired it, Andrews in Birmingham, he was like, man, you guys I see y'all all the time.
You're making my second beach house.
No, this stuff is all, and I'm about to say, this is going to make it sound like it's dangerous. It's not if you have some control.
Yeah.
And I just didn't have any control.
Yeah.
I wanted to I didn't know when to tone it down. And I'd worked out and exercised all my life. So and played sports and, my body had a lot of wear on it.
Yeah.
So it just gave in spots.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that got repaired. The next thing was at Iron Tribe in Huntsville, and I was doing muscle ups in a workout, and I was trying to keep up with these young guys.
The old young bucks.
I was trying to beat these young guys, and it was like my forearm slipped, and I wasn't fatigued. My muscles weren't fatigued or anything, and it gave my I ruptured a tricep tendon. So that had to get repaired. And then during that repair, they had to go in my wrist to get a tendon to put up there because it was retracted. So they dug in here and they dug in the elbow and there ended up being some nerve damage in there. So after that, it was everything just hurt on that left side. I couldn't do anything. I mean, everything from a push up to a pull up inflamed that nerve. And I could do it. I could do a workout still, but it would be like, 2 days later I'd be wrecked.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a muscle wreckness. It would be like the nerve was really messed up.
Yeah.
So I backed off and I changed things, and I had that intensity. So even if I went to a different gym or something, I'm by myself. I'm like, well, I feel good today. I can go a little harder.
Yeah.
Go a little hard, because that's all I ever knew for my entire
the competitive
life.
Beast inside.
Yeah, man, and especially if I was feeling good. So I got this surgery going. I got this one, and I'm pushing a sled again or something, or I'm doing farmer's carries. Well, I'm doing farmer's carries with like 80-pound dumbbells by myself in a gym. No intent, with no distractions or intensity, and I'm just doing my own pace, and like something pops. And I collapsed 2 discs. So all that went numb again, and all the nerve damage there like compounded on each other, and I had to have a cervical neck fusion.
Yeah.
So at that point it was like, all right,
this is
nothing I'm doing is working, so I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would inflame it from just like going on a kayak trip or something.
Yeah.
And so it was like, man, what am I going to do with myself?
Yeah.
Because it was like, it was my identity for really as long as I've been, from a young man and up.
Yeah.
I've kept with fitness somehow.
Yeah.
And it was like, what am I going to do, man? I'm not going to go out here and walk.
Yeah.
I'm not walking up hills or doing any of this crap, man. I'm just going to go fishing.
Yeah.
And I literally just started going fishing.
Yeah.
I mean, and during this time, I was going through a divorce.
Yeah.
And, Colt was very young.
Yeah.
And so it was just a tough, very tough time, and didn't have fitness, all that, the neck surgery and the divorce almost coincided.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
some dark days, man. Those are tough.
It was just, you know a lot about it. I mean, just because, you were there for me, a lot of it. But so I was seeking something to fill the void, because there was a big void.
Yeah.
And I just kind of reverted back to what I did when I was a kid, and I was like, well, man, I'm just going to fish this away. Yeah. And I'd fish on my lunch break at work.
Yeah.
I'd go fishing on the weekends if I didn't have Colt.
Yeah.
I mean, I had 2 kayaks, so I could invite a friend. I mean, I'd invite you fishing.
I got the river, baby. I caught it fast.
Yeah. I mean, and once you start catching them, it's like, holy cow, man, this is the most fun. This is the most exciting thing that, I've done in a long time.
Yeah.
And you're out there like seeing the sunrise or seeing the sunset, and you're out in the swamp or, somewhere. And I just love that kind of environment. So that's kind of what started it. And meanwhile, a guy that I work with, a coworker of mine, kind of the guy who hired me, was telling me, man, you need to come with us. You need to come with us over here. Come hunt with us, you know. And I wanted to use a bow, but I mean, I couldn't draw it with all that stuff. So I got a crossbow. Yeah. And, hey, get a crossbow. You can crank it. You don't have to hold it and involve your arm. And, man, I finally went with them, and it's been over ever since, man. And what kind of coincides with all this, when I was really into working out before my injuries. I was into powerlifting kind of before I started doing some CrossFit, and I met this guy that, was telling me, he would bring me, say, hey, you want some deer meat? Yeah, man, I'd love some deer meat. I'll try that, because I like to cook, and I like to cook healthy. And he would bring me some, and I'd love some more of that. Can I buy some from you? And he's like, man, he owned a farm in Tennessee. Yeah. And, they shot all they wanted off his farm, and he was happy to share. And he would bring me coolers of like ground venison and some and cube steak back from his farm in Tennessee. And I just loved cooking with it. I mean, it was I just fell in love with that, and I was like, man, I don't want to ask this guy for meat all the time. I mean, I want to go out and get it myself. Yeah. So all that was kind of flowing together at the same time, and I just fell in love with it.
Yeah. So before we go there, I want to just, if you're comfortable going there, I want to just revisit dark time in your life and when this helped get you out of there. Because I believe that there's a lot of men in the same circumstances, right, that don't understand, here is an escape, or here is how I can get out. You pulled yourself out of depression. You pulled yourself out of a really dark hole. And I just think that's very helpful if people listening are kind of going through that. So talk to me about, like, How you did it, man.
Yeah, it was bad. It was just bad. It was the worst. A lot of uncertainty and the unknown. Everything starting over. Young Colt wanting to be
where you're gonna live,
dude. Honestly,
are you gonna be out on the street?
No, I mean, if we're being real, how am I gonna pay for that?
Yeah,
because now I got this, and this stretching me, and 1 income instead of 2.
Yeah.
Dude, it was, and man, I mean, all you could do is pray.
Yeah.
When it overcomes you, it's just like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
You get to a point, it's even like now, it's like, I share time with Colt.
Yeah.
And, when he's not with me, I want him with me every day.
Yeah.
So I have to share him.
Yeah.
And, it's like, when thoughts overcome you, you just have to throw it up and just say, and when I do that, usually I can move on.
Resettle.
At least reset.
Yeah.
And move on with my
yeah.
day until I see him again or talk to him again.
Yeah.
So to get me through that, and especially before, I leaned on you every time, I'd call you all the time. I'd invade. I don't know how many family
we had some good
events that I invaded.
I miss those, man. That was fun.
Man, I invaded your space, though.
But no, you didn't.
I was welcome.
You were welcome.
Charles especially.
Yeah. I remember you. Was it Christmas Eve or the day after Christmas Eve? 5 hours away.
It might have been Christmas Eve, man.
You were like, I need to get away. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, because I guess she had him or something. And, I was... Hey, I'm up here by myself on Christmas Eve, so let's, can I come to the farm?
Yeah.
And and it was awesome. It was awesome every time.
Blueberry wine or blackberry wine? What was it?
I think it was blueberry wine with this, do you know the man's name? He was a coon hunter.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah, no, it's...
And it was the daytime.
It was early, because you showed up early.
Yeah.
And
I got there and we squirrel hunted, right?
We squirrel hunted.
Y'all were in the middle of squirrel hunting and I showed up.
And then the next thing I know, we're introduced to blueberry wine.
Man, it was,
what was in that?
I don't know, and I don't remember much after that.
But it was like all I remember is one bottle between 4 people, and it was a 24-hour day.
Yeah. And then
it felt like it lasted the entire day.
Yeah. And then we were woken up early with Kaneka sausage and
bunny bread.
Microwaved eggs. If I remember it right.
Yeah, microwaved eggs, bunny bread, and then we had killed a bunch of deer and then loaded them in the truck and forgot about them. And then the dog ate the deer.
Man. There was another time that I was reminded of when the camp part of the farm where the house is that you really don't want to spend the night in.
Oh, yeah.
When we had the deer hung up at camp, and I feel like maybe we shot them that morning.
Yeah.
And we hung them, gutted them, and we might have went hunting again, right? In the afternoon,
we did
right?
Drive, yeah.
So we did a deer drive and we came back.
Yeah.
Well, when we came back, I was blown away that someone had cut the back straps out of our deer
raw,
and they had a fire going and they were like shooting pistols at the bottles and all that was fine.
Yeah,
but they'd cut the back strap out of the deer that we killed.
Yes,
and they were gone. And I'm like, what, dude? I was gonna bring all this meat back and get it like ground up for us, and like we were gonna have like all this deer meat. And I'm like, they took our back straps, man.
Out.
What are you doing?
Do you remember what?
And they were so callous about it. They said it was like our tax or something, right?
Yeah, it was the new. Do you remember the grill that they cooked it on?
I don't exactly.
So it was like this old ancient, just charcoal grill that had probably been there since like 1995, and whatever charcoal briquettes you could tell it'd been cooked on and it molded over and molded over
and they just kept cooking
and then they ate it. No
disgusting
problem.
But they look, if I'm being honest with you,
we ate it. Yeah,
and they look like those kind of guys that just they would have no problem with that. That was not their first time doing something like that. Like they've cut the back straps out of somebody else's deer before there and cooked it on those same coals, and they've been fine with it.
Go ahead, go for it.
To get back on track with what kind of was healing for me in being outdoors was all the alone time. I mean, you don't have a choice but to get right with yourself if you're going to be outside, even if you're fishing in a kayak or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, 2, 3, 4 hours of probably silence and nature sounds, but your brain's not turned off.
Yeah.
So you're by yourself for 4 hours. You know, same thing with hunting.
You got to work it out.
And even especially more with hunting because you just have to be still.
Yeah.
I mean, being still, there's something about being still and being quiet that if your head's in the wrong place and space, you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you got to figure things out in your brain.
Isn't that the truth, though? Like we try to, you know, find God or God, why can't I hear you? But he just asks us to be still, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's it.
That's it.
And that's, you know, I mean, I can't tell you how effective that is for me on a Sunday morning sometimes instead of going to church. I don't choose to miss church because I want to go with my family.
Yeah.
And it's a family event. But, you know, if it happens to be something in the middle of the season where it's important that I go that morning in particular, you know, it's not a bad place to be on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
If you have to, you know, watching the sunrise.
Work it out.
In the deer hunting woods or turkey hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, especially turkey hunting because it's just so much louder in the spring.
Yeah.
And that's what I love. I mean, I love that.
Escape the noise.
Yeah.
Escape the noise.
Escape it, but with some different noise.
That's the sound of the bell.